Alright, what's happening, y'all, man? It's a done deal. The Washington Commanders have drafted Sam Howell in the 5th round of the 2022 draft, and just off rip, that's great value. Now, I want to read to y'all how a lot of people feel about the pick outside of the Burgundy and Gold Nation, and of course, I'm going to include how I feel about the pick. And do I feel like, I already told you that's excellent value right there, but like, how great is the value? Do I feel like he'll be able to contribute early? Do I feel like he's a potential franchise quarterback? How much do I really value bringing a quarterback in when you already drafted his receiver the season before? We're going to talk about Sam Howell. I'd do a separate video. If we just drafted another position group, I would have just gone ahead and put everybody together that we've drafted so far in day 3 in one video. But when you draft a potential franchise quarterback in the 5th round, I had to make that separate. Of course, we also got to talk about, is he threatening Carson Wentz's job or Taylor Heinicke's? And again, how soon? But yeah, I had to make this a separate video, bro. This I'm gonna talk about everybody else in another video, and I'll probably even talk about Sam Howell a little bit in that one too. But I had to do a separate video on Sam Howell, bro. The value is just too great. You could definitely argue that may be one of the steals of the draft right there. Now, me as a big Malik Willis fan, that's one of the main reasons I didn't necessarily love Sam Howell, because I just really wanted Malik Willis. But if Malik Willis didn't exist, I would probably love Sam Howell more. Just same thing with Jahan Dotson. I would absolutely love the Jahan Dotson pick at 16 if Jameson Williams and Kyle Hamilton didn't exist. So, like, the player is solid. It's potentially great. High ceiling with Jahan Dotson. He's also coming with a high floor as well. It's just the fact that we missed out on Jameson Williams and Kyle Hamilton to get them. And I don't want to keep bringing that up. I'm going to talk about it for like draft grades wise, but at a certain point, we got to move on. We don't have Jameson Williams. We don't have Kyle Hamilton. Even though those were 2 of my 3 favorite players in the entire draft, they're not on our team. There's no point in me even speaking on them anymore after a certain point. But I'm just saying all of that to say the same thing with Sam Howell. Where I love Malik Willis so much, if he didn't exist, I'll definitely be higher on Sam Howell. And I just feel like we had so many opportunities to get Malik Willis. But Sam Howell is definitely a potential franchise quarterback. He should have gone in the 1st round last year if he was draft eligible. And then all of his best weapons, including Dyami Brown, who's on our team. And again, we're going to dive into all of that after the intro. But he ended up going in the 5th round now because all of his best weapons left. And you can definitely say Malik Willis was 1A. Sam Howell was 1B for the worst situations around him in college football out of all draft eligible quarterbacks. And we're talking about how good your offensive line was and the weapons around you were compared to what you had to go against as far as defenses. Malik Willis had it the worst in college football out of all draft eligible quarterbacks. Sam Howell was definitely right behind him. Then there's a big gap in everybody else. So it's really hard to critique those 2 guys because they were having to put the team on their back, and they also developed bad habits from their teams being so bad, specifically their offensive lines. Malik Willis's tendency to bail on the pocket too early, even when the protection rarely happens. It rarely happens, but when the protection is actually good, he runs out of the pocket assuming it's not. Sam Howell throws from an inconsistent base. His arm motion is random and inconsistent because he's so used to having to throw in traffic with his offensive line getting bullied around him. He's out here throwing passes like this sometimes because there's an offensive lineman under his armpit, and he's just developed bad habits that way, and I think you can coach that out of him. So I love the potential of this pick. Again, 5th round, excellent value, arguably one of the steals of the draft. But yeah, man, before I dive into everything specifically, and again, we're going to talk about outside views on the pick first, and then I'm going to give my complete breakdown of the pick. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, if you're a channel member, definitely make sure y'all stay tuned because I'm going to do film sessions on every single player we brought in. Even if I can't get a hold of their film sessions, we're just going to do live analysis and reactions to people's highlights. But that's for channel members only. If you're not a channel member, go become one. Everybody else, I'm going to try to get a couple of them out there, like important players. Like I'm going to try to do a Sam Howell one for everybody. I definitely want to do a Jahan Dotson one for everybody. But for channel members, y'all are getting literally everybody. Y'all are getting undrafted free agents. If we sign Tyrann Mathieu after the draft, even though I doubt it happens, you're getting a Tyrann Mathieu film session. Literally everybody. They're raw and edited, just live reactions to everything, not organized. We're just going play for play. You know me, when I put a film session out there for everybody, it's going to be super professional. We're going to go by traits. We're going to say weaknesses, strengths, this, that. And I'm going to bring up examples from several games in a row. Whereas my raw and edited ones, we're literally just pulling up Sam Howell versus and just watching it all the way through, and positives, negatives, all of it. We're just gonna watch it all and analyze it, and that's gonna be for literally every player. But yeah, man, without further ado, let's get it. First of all, to get this out of the way, I did not know that Carson Wentz and Sam Howell are represented by the same agency. That's really interesting. I don't know if that's going to end up mattering at all. But, I mean, speaking of Carson Wentz, first of all, a 5th-round quarterback should not affect how you play. Us taking a quarterback, no matter what round, even if we took one in the first, if you can't handle that mentally, you should have never been a franchise quarterback anyway. You wouldn't have been the guy anyway. If you can't mentally handle that, but especially a 5th-rounder, a 5th-round pick quarterback, one that slid that far, there's no way Carson Wentz is just over there looking over his shoulder and it's going to affect how poorly he plays or how well he plays. If it does, he was never meant to be the guy anyway, so I don't want to hear none of that. I just can't understand. I guess maybe because I'm such a confident person, I can't even try to grasp the concept, but no excuses, bro. You're getting paid $28 million this year, and the quarterback was taken in the 5th. The other guy's Taylor Heineke, undrafted. There's no way you should feel enough pressure to where it affects your play. I'm not accepting that at all. Also, really interesting, say what you want about the trade back, and again, I'm one of the people that's still kind of against it because I wanted to get blue chip players like Jameson Williams or Kyle Hamilton. And even looking back, I probably still would have. But they did make the most out of that trade back. They ended up with Jahan Dotson, who I feel like will ultimately end up being probably better than Chris Olave straight up, who got taken at 11, and the Saints gave up a 3rd and a 4th to take him sooner than Jahan Dotson. Again, Jahan Dotson may end up even being better than Chris Olave. He definitely was a better college player, especially if you're considering how much he had to carry a team, just like Drake London. Terrible quarterback play, absolutely terrible weapons around him. So while Jahan Dotson's being covered by, in the same schedule, Penn State, Ohio State, basically the same schedule, same opponents, while Jahan Dotson's facing the best corner and potentially safety help every game, and teams know it's literally going to him every game. There's no other weapons. The quarterback's terrible. Chris Olave has 2 other really good receivers. The guy that's going to come out next year, Garrett Wilson and CJ Stroud in his offense. So it's just like, and he's out there being covered by, at best, the cornerback number 2 a lot of the time. So it's just like, you know, that's me going on a little rant, but I can see the logic why Jahan Dotson can end up being better than Chris Olave. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not even predicting it. But for those reasons right there, it's possible. But again, we traded back to 16, and ultimately, with those picks that we got from that, we took Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson with the 98th overall pick, the 120th pick we got from that, we used that to get the 144th and 149th pick from the Panthers, and then those picks turned into Sam Howell and Cole Turner. So from us moving from 11 to 16, we ended up with Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, Sam Howell, and Cole Turner. And that's the thing I'm going to talk about in my next video. For this video, we're just going to talk about Sam Howell as far as this goes, but my video I'm coming out with immediately after this one, like as soon as I'm done recording and editing this one, I'm going to go right back to recording the one reviewing our entire draft so far. The main point of that, I'm not going to necessarily go weaknesses and strengths because I'm going to save a lot of that for film sessions and stuff like that. It's more so going to be why we drafted them, with a main primary focus on how soon they'll contribute and what their ceilings are. What can they ultimately become, but also what are they going to look like in their rookie seasons? Like, who's the guys that are going to pretty much start right away, contribute right away? Who are the guys we put in the refrigerator for later? So we're going to take a look at that for every player, and that just reminded me of that, looking at Brian Robinson, who's, I think he's going to contribute way more than a lot of people think early on, rookie season already. Same thing with Cole Turner, where Sam Howell's going to be more of the refrigerator type of guy. But we'll see. Who knows, man? If he goes to camp and just looks like Drew Brees with a stronger arm. I mean, that we'll see, though. But yeah, man, just wanted to let y'all know that trading back from 11 to 16 resulted in us getting Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, Sam Howell, and Cole Turner. Literally just from moving 11 to 16. That's great value. That's about as good as you can do outside of taking Jameson Williams and Kyle Hamilton. Again, I'm still in the boat of you take the blue chip player, but if you're not, this is pretty much as good as it gets for value right here. I mean, I think we killed that part, honestly. But yeah, man, So talking about Sam Howell, let me first read how everybody else reacted to the situation and what people are saying, because people are very excited about this for us. Again, these are people that have nothing to deal with the Washington Commanders. These are people outside of the organization and their opinions on these players. And I'm gonna also read some of those when it comes to other players like Percy Butler. Chris Sims thinks he's the rangiest free safety, the best pure free safety in the draft. We're gonna talk about that in my next video. But Bruce Feldman said Commanders had to be elated Sam Howell was available in the 5th round. Quote, he carried a bad team. He's very accurate at all 3 levels. He is probably maxed out physically, which is okay. He's also really tough, unquote. And before we even took him, entering day 3, Bruce Feldman said Sam Howell's a steal today. He said, quote, I think he sees the field the best of all these guys, even though he's only 6 foot. And that's where that Drew Brees comp comes from. I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, especially accuracy wise yet, even though he has very underrated accuracy at all 3 levels. But like, even though he's 6 foot flat, it seems like he can see better than even guys like Desmond Ridder as far as vision goes and seeing over offensive linemen. And that's that Drew Brees element to him. Again, I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, but he's Drew Brees like in that way. Now you can say body wise, he's more of like a Dak Prescott with a stronger arm, I guess, but shorter. But like that ability to really read the field at all 3 levels, even at being 6 foot, that's a Drew Brees quality, man. It's only a handful of guys in NFL history that could do that. Because Kyler Murray's short, but he's seeing the field because he's normally running out of the pocket and making plays like that. Drew Brees and hopefully Sam Howell for us can stay in the pocket and still see the field very well. But back to Bruce Feldman, he said he can shape throws with touch, can throw a good deep ball, can anticipate and get zip on the ball to be deadly in the RPO and the quick game, unquote. Hey man, I didn't love Sam Howell coming in because again, the Malik Willis bias, just like trading back, the Kenny Pickett and Jameson Williams bias, but you could definitely grow to love the pick, especially with how well he fits in Scott Turner's offense. And that's another thing. Jordan Reed, famous draft analyst, said much earlier, but had Sam Howell to Washington in my 7th round mock. So way before the 5th round. Love the fit, gives them Carson Wentz insurance. He's a natural fit for Scott Turner's offense. Like I said, I mean, Scott Turner's offense is literally built for somebody like a Sam Howell or a Malik Willis. The Commanders did a lot of homework on quarterbacks and had a heavy presence at pro days. So they did their due diligence on Sam Howell. I'm surprised they risked it and didn't take him sooner, but getting him in the 5th round is definitely a steal. We'll see if he actually ends up being a franchise quarterback, but the potential there, and to get him in the 5th round, it's just no way you can't see that as great value. It doesn't matter how low you are on Sam Howell. A potential franchise quarterback in the 5th round is amazing, especially again since your offense, Scott Turner's offense specifically, is so well built for him already. And I wouldn't say he's like a Carson Wentz like player, but you could definitely do some mobility stuff, some deep down the field stuff. And so that in that way, I think it would be a seamless transition from Carson Wentz to Sam Howell. Now, speaking of transition, as a rookie, I think Sam Howell will only be competing with Taylor Heinicke as far as snaps go, training camp, practices, all of that type of stuff. But honestly, Taylor Heinicke is here for what, the next 2 years? Carson Wentz technically has a contract that goes further than that, but we can dip up out of this contract after this season for no dead cap. So technically he's only on contract for this year, technically. And again, Taylor Heinicke's on contract for 2 years. So I think Taylor Heinicke is certified backup. No matter what, he's going to be our backup. I think Sam Howell and Carson Wentz are in direct competition for franchise quarterback. The starting quarterback, again, Taylor Heinicke is out of range. Again, Sam Howell is a rookie that he's going to be splitting snaps with Taylor Heinicke. He's not going to split snaps with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is clearly the guy this year. So Sam Howell's just going to get it how he gets it out of the mud as far as snaps go and learning how to, you know, become a better quarterback, getting his mechanics right, throwing motion, footwork, throwing from a consistent base, all of that type of stuff. He's going to have to get that out the mud as far as snaps go this season. But again, even though he's splitting snaps with Taylor Heinicke, career projection wise, he's competing with Carson Wentz, if that makes sense. So I think this is a really interesting dynamic. I think it's a really good pick in the 5th round. We're going to see how this goes. I'm excited. We're definitely going to see. I think he has a ceiling to him, man. I think even at 6 foot, again, for the reasons I've already explained, I think he has a nice ceiling to him, and I'm excited about him. I think with the weapons, first of all, of course, we're reuniting Dyami Brown with his quarterback, so that's great. Sam Howell looked like a 1st round pick if he was draft eligible to go in the draft last year. Literally a 1st round pick, probably would have gone before Mac Jones, honestly. but then all of his great weapons leave, running back, wide receivers, everybody leaves. And so now he's having a harder time because he has nobody to throw to. Offensive line is terrible. He's struggling, of course. So when you try to isolate him from that, kind of like Justin Herbert. I'm not saying Sam Howell's Justin Herbert, but remember Justin Herbert, everybody thought he was trash because his situation was terrible. The coaching was terrible, no weapons, no offensive line. Everything was just atrocious around him, and he looked bad because of it. He built up bad habits. Justin Herbert got to the NFL, got a better team, better offensive line, better receivers, and was able to actually work on his mechanics because the situation around him wasn't so terrible. And then he learned, he developed, and became what he is today. Sam Howell may have a similar trajectory. Again, I'm not saying he's Justin Herbert because he's not the size of him, and Justin Herbert's arm is crazy. Sam Howell has a really strong arm, but I wouldn't say it's Justin Herbert. So I don't think Sam Howell will ever be Justin Herbert, but I can see him having a Justin Herbert-like ascension, going to the NFL, getting away from the terrible. Well, I wouldn't say his coaching was as bad as Oregon's, because Oregon's offense is super gimmicky, even though he ran a lot of RPOs as well at North Carolina. I mean, Oregon, boy, whew. As far as trying to prepare NFL quarterbacks, they don't even try, bro. They're just like, we're going to run this super college offense, and you're just going to have to figure it out at the NFL level yourself. We're not going to do anything to prepare you for the NFL here. North Carolina wasn't that bad. It was still pretty bad, though. And again, no weapons. Everybody gone, including, again, Dyami Brown, who's already on the team, came out a year before him. They made each other better. Dyami Brown does not have as great of a college season without Sam Howell being the one throwing him the ball that can hit him in stride deep down the field. Sam Howell definitely has the arm for that. And also, Sam Howell, as you can see this past season and why he ended up going in the 5th round, wasn't as good without Dyami Brown as his target. And I think it's really interesting because since Jahan Dotson is definitely coming here to overtake Dyami Brown in the depth chart, when we get to those second team snaps, those third team snaps, it's going to be Sam Howell throwing to Dyami Brown in practices, especially like training camp and stuff like that. So that's going to be really fun because we're going to see that connection build up immediately. And it's going to be kind of hard to judge how good Sam Howell is or how good Dyami Brown actually are, like as individual players, because their chemistry is going to be like this immediately in training camp. And so we're going to have to do a good job of being true analysts and actually isolating them from each other and seeing if Sam Howell can actually throw it to other receivers, seeing if Dyami Brown can catch passes and get open against other corners, against other and with other quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think that connection is going to immediately, that fire is going to rekindle ASAP as soon as training camp happens, which is going to be really fun to see, because I think naturally Sam Howell, we're going to be looking like, why is he not the starting quarterback? Because he's going to be throwing dimes to Dyami Brown while Carson Wentz is still trying to gain chemistry with guys like Terry McLaurin and stuff like that. Sam Howell may, honestly, I'm not saying he will, but I can see a scenario with him throwing to Dyami Brown. He's going to look like the better quarterback like the first week of training camp. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's really interesting, but I don't think, even if he balls out throwing to Dyami Brown specifically, I don't think that's going to be enough to dethrone Carson Wentz. I think the only scenario where Sam Howell plays is if Carson Wentz gets injured, and even then I think Taylor Heinicke is definitely above him in the depth chart. I think Sam Howell's definitely third on the depth chart right now, but again, he's competing with Taylor Heinicke for snaps his rookie season, but career trajectory wise, he's competing with Carson Wentz as the starting franchise quarterback. Taylor Heinicke is just the permanent backup. Hopefully he's our backup for the unforeseeable future, like the next 10 years plus. That would be nice. I'm cool with that. Another reason I'm starting to like the Sam Howell pick more and more every time I think about it is because since he's coming from that RPO system, and Scott Turner likes to run RPO, for some reason he didn't like doing it with Taylor Heinicke. As soon as Kyle Allen came in the game, RPOs, quarterback design runs, I'm like, why are we not doing this with Taylor Heinicke? He looks capable, and I'm just not too sure how much he's going to do that with Carson Wentz with his injury history, and he's not the fastest guy. He's mobile, but he's not the fastest guy. I think with Sam Howell, we'll finally start to see a lot of the fun stuff. I'm not going to necessarily say it's going to be very productive, very efficient, but it's going to be fun to watch, watching Sam Howell run an RPO-like offense. It's not going to be as common and as often as he did in college, where it was like all the time. Him, Matt Corral, a lot of quarterbacks in this class pretty much ran RPO way too much. I don't think we're going to run it anywhere near that much, but I think we're going to run it easily, just naturally more often than we did last year, where we barely did it at all with Taylor Heinicke, and we did it a couple of times with Kyle Allen, but he barely played. So I'm really excited in seeing how fun this offense is going to be. First of all, because we're going from Taylor Heinicke, who couldn't throw a deep ball, now we suddenly, in just within one offseason, have two guys that can throw deep down the field. So Taylor Heinicke's happy, Dyami Brown's happy, Curtis Samuel's happy if he's healthy. A lot of these guys are healthy. Jahan Dotson is happy because he has a quarterback right now that can do it in Carson Wentz, and potentially a quarterback quarterback of the future that can do it in Sam Howell. So all of these guys, everybody on the offensive side of the ball is happy. I really hope we bring back Eric Flowers after the draft, sign him for cheaper than what we had him for, so we can shore up that offensive line to protect Carson Wentz so he doesn't get hurt. And I think we got something going. Still, overall, this draft wise, I don't think we're shooting for Super Bowl contender right now. Like, we're not taking a bunch of high risk guys. We're mostly playing it safe, especially with Cole Turner. We're playing it safe with Brian Robinson. We're playing it safe with Mathis. We're playing it safe with Jahan Dotson, even though I feel like he has a higher ceiling than people are going to give him credit for. And to me, overall, like I said in the stream several times, the live stream during the draft, I think we're basically building towards a 10-win team. And I think we're just going to go one step at a time, try to get 10 wins, make the playoffs, get 11 wins, win a playoff game the next year, things like that. I would prefer, again, to go get the Jameson Williams, Kyle Hamilton, shoot for the stars, go boom or bust, and try to become a Super Bowl contender soon. But it looks like right now our main focus is just to be a 10-win game type of team to make the playoffs, which not my style, but I can see the logic behind it. But again, Sam Howell is actually a pretty high ceiling prospect, so that's kind of fun for me because half of the picks are safe, but half of these picks are actually, we're starting to do more high ceiling guys, more, you know, we're trying to see what we can get. Like I say, we pay our coaches millions of dollars, and the primary job description for coaches is player development. There's a lot of other stuff to it too, but your main thing is to develop players. And if all you're doing is taking high floor guys, what are you even doing? How much do you even trust your coaches if you're signing or drafting a bunch of guys that you know for a fact should work out? So I like going high ceiling guys because I want to trust my coaches to get the most out of them, and you can end up with a better player than those high floor guys. But we'll see, man. They started off just playing it safe and doing high floor guys, and then as of day 3, we've been taking more risks, so I'm excited. It was a solid draft at first, and what I've been saying in the stream, in my head, going into day 3, when we only made 3 picks, Jahan Dotson, Mathis, and Brian Robinson, the draft in my head was solid B. Flat B, maybe a B minus. But in my heart, it was a C minus because it's just not the way I would draft at all. But now that we're finally getting these high ceiling guys, these high risk, high reward, these boomer bust guys, I'm starting to like the draft more. It's a little inconsistent from their original plan of playing it safe, but I'm happy. They're giving me a little bit of what I wanted towards the end. Now, we missed out on a lot of players that I really wanted that we definitely could have gotten with a lot of our picks, but it's cool. We're working on it. We'll see how this goes. Again, I'm excited about Sam Howell, and I'm going to do a full breakdown of the rest of the guys that we brought in day 3 as well, but I had to do the Sam Howell one first and get that out the way and make that separate because I knew I was going to talk about him forever. I'm going on 25 minutes worth of recording. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like the video if you liked it. If you learned anything, definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about the Sam Howell pick and why it was a steal. I don't want to hear anything about it wasn't. I don't care how much you dislike Sam Howell. Him in the 5th round, I just think you gotta at least like it a little bit. And again, I'm not even a big Sam Howell fan, but I can see the potential here. I see the ceiling, and I definitely see the value. So definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Is he the steal of the draft? And also, do you feel like we're having a good draft overall? But y'all can discuss that in my next video where I'm talking more about day 3 and the overall draft as a whole rather than Sam Howell specifically. But yeah, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. Endless content. I'm gonna be spamming y'all with videos the next few days, and I'm probably gonna do a live stream tomorrow or Monday just to do a draft review, and I'll probably open up the phone lines for y'all to call in and everything. So catch y'all later. I'm out.